Okay. Okay, and good evening, everybody. Welcome to Echoing Voices. My name is Ronnie, and I'm really, really excited tonight because I've got two guests tonight, and we have Crissi McDonald and Mark Rashid. So I originally asked Crissi quite a while ago if she'd like to come on for a chat, which she lovingly said yes, which was really, really kind of her. But obviously they're very, very busy. So we just had to wait for a date so we could get in sync. So I was so excited when she said, would I like to have Mark as a guest as well? So I'm doubly excited to bring them both on. I'm going to let them talk about themselves because they know themselves better than I do. So I'm not going to go into a full introduction. So they'll explain a little bit about who they are and what they do for people that are not sure what they do and who they are. And we'll talk about their books and also a summit that they've recently been to and come back from Texas. So without further ado, I shall bring Crissi and Mark in. Welcome.
Hello. It's wonderful to see you.
Oh, I'm so pleased that you're here. So, Crissi, would you like to go first? So we'll have ladies first. Would you like to go first?
Sure. I've been around horses since I was a kid. I was born loving horses. I was 2 years old when I first met a horse. It was actually a little Shetland pony. And I grew up in the city. We didn't have horses. We didn't have money for horses. But I ingratiated myself with people who did have horses, and I cleaned stalls, and I cleaned out trailers, and I groomed, and I cleaned tack, and I babysat. I basically did anything I could for either time with their horses or lessons. And I did that pretty much through most of my junior high and high school years. I had a friend who had Arabians, and she was kind enough to allow me to hang out with her a lot. And I have a very soft spot for Arabians. I think they're great horses. Her horses were do anything horses. So she could go in a jumping class, she could go in a barrel class, she could go in a hunter equitation or Western pleasure, all with the same horse. So I grew up with Arabians being able to do anything and go anywhere. And when I got older and I had a Arab myself as a clinic horse, people would ask me if she was a full-blooded Arabian, which she was, and I said, yes, she is. Why? And they said, because she's too quiet. Arabs are crazy. And that has not been my experience. I've certainly seen Arabs made crazy, made to be hot. But I think any breed, whether it's an Arabian or quarter horse, Tennessee Walker, they're a horse first, and the breed is secondary. So, so I had a lot of experience just doing gymkhanas and trail rides and lessons, and going to shows, showed and dressage a little bit. I took jumping lessons. It's just doing a little bit of everything. I was certified as an instructor in my early 20s by Camp Horsemanship Association, the CHA. And I taught at a Girl Scout camp for a couple summers, and then ended up getting my own horses, started teaching, then started training. And that was over 30 years ago. So 30 years and lots of miles. Yeah. So I pretty much, if it's to do with horses, I pretty much enjoy doing anything. I don't really have a preference. I can only ride Western or only ride English or only ride gaited horses or only ride, if it's a horse, I'm in. So, Mark and I ended up meeting in 2001, and that's when I learned about this work. And up until that point, I had been pursuing a couple of different other things, but I found horses I couldn't help. And when I started riding with Mark, I learned that I was relying more on technique than I was on the internal parts of both the horse and myself, which I was clueless about, because up until that time it was, spurs and tie downs and make them do it. And, if I say do this thing, the horse is supposed to go do that thing. And so it was all about, as a trainer, how good were you at applying the techniques? And it didn't matter how the horse felt about it. And that really left a loving horses the way I do. It was the only thing I knew how to do, but I didn't like it. It didn't feel right. And when I went and saw the work that Mark was doing, that felt right. So that's what I've been practicing since 2001 is these principles of softness. And then we can let Mark talk because I've been jabbering.
No, I was going to ask you a question, but I thought actually I better ask Mark to say hello first.
Yes.
That's all right. You can ask her a question.
No, it's all right. You introduce
I'm good.
yourself.
I'm actually really good at waiting.
I was going to say, so how did you hear about Mark's? Was it like a clinic? How did you hear about Mark? So when you first went to see how he worked?
So I was living in Arizona at the time, and I went to a friend of mine who was riding in a clinic every month, and she rode with everybody. And I went to her and I said, I'm running into these horses. I can't help them. I have no idea what to do. But I don't want to learn from someone who's a jerk. I don't want to go to a clinic and have them talk about being gentle and kind in the round pen, and then they walk out of the round pen and they're jerks to the people. I said, I want someone who's the same inside a round pen as they are outside. And she said, well, there's a guy named Mark Rashid coming here in a couple months. Do you want to ride with him in the clinic? And I said, yeah, sure. And she said, oh, and here's a book. And it was Considering the Horse. I thought, oh, that's nice. You wrote a book. So I had no idea who he was. I read his book. I really liked the book. And then after 4 days of that clinic, I was in, and that's all I've been doing. So.
Thank you, Crissi.
Yeah.
Mark, your turn now.
Yes.
Well, I am Chrissy's husband, and because she's short, I end up, getting the things off the tall shelves for her, mostly.
Mm-hmm. You're
And
really good at that.
I'm good at that,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm good at lifting heavy things for her.
Mm-hmm.
I clean up after her horses, which is nice.
I clean up after the horses too.
She cleans up after the horses too, but mostly I do. And yeah, I think that's about it.
I'm sure there's a bit more to it than that.
It's funny. I struggle a little bit with talking about myself. So I would just say that I've been kind of working with horses since I was about 10 years old. Actually, I started cleaning up after him. I was good at it then too, when I was about 10. And that was when I started my horse mucking after career, was when I was 10. And I've just gotten better at it since then. So the guy that I worked with when I was a kid, he was quite a horseman, and he could do pretty much anything with a horse without raising a hand or raising his voice. And so ever since then, that's been my goal, working with horses. So I've everything that I do in life, for me, moves me towards that goal. I choose things in my life to move me closer to being able to be a really good with horses, and just a good person. So basically that's it. I mean, I could go on, but I'd prefer not to.
No,
it's just a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, so I'll show people. So this was the first book that I bought from you, Mark, and it was a lovely Sue Hill who's actually watching tonight. So for the people that have joined, thank you for your lovely comments. I will share them, but I just want to get a chance to chat with Mark and Crissi. And then if you want to ask questions, please do so. So just write a comment, and then what we'll do is after a little while, we'll just go through the comments and we can ask some questions. But I remember reading this book. To be honest, I can't remember how I came across you. I think it was probably the usual thing. You watch YouTube videos and anything to do with horses. And because my horse is a quarter horse, and I do Western riding. When I got Toots, there wasn't that many around me that knew about Western riding. Not really. In fact, I really struggled to get an instructor or anybody to come and help me. So I think I was looking at YouTube, and I came across you, and I was looking. Yeah, I think it was the YouTube videos. I think you might have been on Facebook as well. And but this was the book that Sue brought back, and you kindly signed, and that was an interesting story because Sue Hill was at a summer camp for horses. So they take horses there obviously with the riders, and they have like a couple of days a weekend where they get to go and do cross country and show jumping or just hacking out, and they camp there. And I was working there. I was kindly asked to go along and do some work there. And Sue was one of the ladies that I saw. And at the time, I was doing like half-hour sessions, like taster sessions. And I went to see Howie. And I can remember we had the conversation. And she was asking me, well, who would you recommend to help me with Howie then? And in my head, there was two people. It was you and Warwick Schiller. And I remember thinking, well, that's not going to happen because they're not in this country. So I didn't even mention your name. And so I said, well, make sure you go to somebody that Howie trusts and is okay with. You'll know if it's the right person by how he behaves with them. So we went away. And we went for a coffee, and we were sat outside, and we was all sort of chatting about the day. And Sue started talking about going to, I think it was to Gatwick or to Heathrow. She said, "Oh, I've got to go pick Mark up," and my ears just pricked up, and because I was just having a coffee listening, and I was like, "That wouldn't be Mark Rashid, would it?" And she went, "Yeah." I went, "Oh my God!" So of course the conversation was, "Yeah, I'm organising a clinic." I went, "Oh my God." So it said, well, he was one of the people that I would have recommended for you to help you with Howie after reading your book and obviously a little bit more. So that was so funny. So she kindly offered me in exchange for going to chat with her other horses, and ordered this ticket to come and see you guys, which I am so, so grateful for. And it was amazing. And it was lovely to see you work, Mark. And it was lovely to meet you, Crissi, because you were training, I think, at the time for your Masterson. You was already starting to do your Masterson method. And so we got to have a little chat, and you were showing me some breathing techniques. You probably won't remember that, but you were showing me some breathing techniques, which I can't remember now. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I think
You're breathing anyway, so
yeah,
it's good.
yeah, just. But you were so lovely, the pair of you. It was just lovely to meet you both, and you were so humble and approachable, which I like. Because there are some people you go around, and like you say, they're all nice and smiles, but then they go away and they're different people. But that's not you guys at all. So getting back to the book, I actually loved this book, Mark, because it wasn't a tell you what to do book. It was very much your experience. And as you read it, for me, it was like, well, of course that makes sense. Why wouldn't it? It's the way you told the story, and it was from the old gentleman that you was working with. And I loved it because as I said, it's not a tell you what to do. You should be doing this, and this is how long you should be doing. It was your experience, but it was told in such a way that you would think about it, and it would make you think. It would give you some information, but still make you think for yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think really that was the goal initially with that. I'm not a big. I struggle reading how-to books, and I just don't read them, I guess is another way to say that. It's just not my kind of. Anyway, so when I was asked to write that book, that was what I wanted the book to do, I wanted it to read like a James Herriot book. I don't know if you're familiar with James Herriot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
But I was, I wanted the book to read like a James Herriot book, and I wanted it to look like a Will James book. So Will James was an author and a cowboy back in the 1920s here in the States, and he illustrated his own books. And so, just so happened, a friend of mine was also a big fan of Will James and an artist, and so the illustrations in the book are he had his way of drawing and painting were very, very similar to Will James. So it has that Will James, the pictures inside uh, look like sort of a Will James book, and I wanted it to read like a James Herriot book. So just that conversational, here's what happened, and to me, and if the information is helpful, then that's great, and hopefully if it's not helpful, at least it's a good story. And so that was actually my goal in writing the book, and somebody asked me to write it. Otherwise I probably wouldn't have ever done that. I was just working on a ranch, and um, actually I was between ranch jobs when I wrote that book. But yeah, so that's how that all came to be. And so it was part of the, it was kind of part of the big scheme, was to just tell stories. And because we learn from stories. And so that was my goal.
And it was easy to read, so you did achieve your goal, which is brilliant. And thank goodness for your friend saying that you should write a book, because here you are.
Yeah.
Um,
It was
Well-
a life-changing suggestion, as a matter of fact.
Mm,
Yeah,
yes.
that little book completely changed the trajectory of my life. So
Yeah. So how many books have you got out now, Mark?
I'm not sure.
15.
15.
15.
15.
15 books. And what is your latest book? Do you happen to have a copy with you?
Mhm.
For the Love of Horses.
Yeah, For the Love of the Horse. Yeah.
Yeah. So would you like to just, without giving too much away, just a little brief about what that one is particularly about?
Well, it's interesting, because that's actually the only reason I wrote this book, was because we're coming up on the 30th year anniversary of Considering the Horse. And so this is For the Love of the Horses, basically a tribute, a 30th year tribute to Considering the Horse, is, without giving a lot of it away.
Mm.
That's basically what it is.
Okay. And since you first started, so um, I'm not going to ask you all the questions, Mark. Don't worry, Crissi, you'll get a word in.
I'm good. I'm good.
So since you started doing what you do, your amazing work with horses, and obviously it's not just about horses, because it's the people and that you're helping, because they need their assistance and guidance. So since you started, is it more or less the same core that you're working with? It's the same essence of when you first started, or has it changed dramatically to where you are today?
I would say what I do and how I do it has changed. Hopefully, I mean, you would think after 50 years you would be doing some things different,
Yeah.
but the core has not changed. So the core of what I picked up from Walter back all those years ago, that has not changed. So um, finding a way to work from the inside of us to reach the inside of the horse, that hasn't changed.
Yeah.
So basically what has happened over the years is I've just tried to find ways to enhance or get better at that aspect of things. So in order for that to happen, you have to get better as a person. And so that's what I've been trying to do. I don't know that I've achieved that, but it's what I work on. So working on horsemanship is a 24-hour a day thing. It's not just doing. It's just not when you're working with your horse. So
No.
my goal has been, if just trying to become a better person. So that has been that has not changed. And in fact, if anything, that's probably gotten a little bit, maybe a bigger piece of the puzzle for me over the years.
We'll ask Crissi what she thinks about that last statement. Has he improved, Crissi?
Well, you don't want to get me started bragging on my husband because
Don't worry. It's just between you and me.
I'll be here all day. Yeah, I would say that hopefully we both continue to improve. And not only with our work with horses, but as people as well. We're both pretty committed to paying attention and, looking at patterns, whether they're positive or negative. And, I, this is my second marriage, and I have to say it's the best marriage I've ever been in. So,
Right answer.
yeah. So I'm incredibly biased, but I am also incredibly happy. So, yeah.
And you have an amazing. Well, I'm saying you have an amazing life, but I'm not you. So I'm assuming you have an amazing life because you get to meet so many people that have found you and are so thankful for themselves and the horses. And you get to meet some people that, like the trainers that have followed you or just been introduced to you. And even people that maybe haven't crossed your path, but they're aware of you through the internet. I mean, like Facebook and YouTube. It's an amazing platform that we get to meet. I mean, we're chatting today because of this, which I find fascinating, and I think it's one of the pluses
Yes.
for Facebook because
Yes.
it gets a lot of stick, but actually it has a lot of good as well.
Yes.
And you can chat and you can meet people, and obviously you guys can work. You can do Zooms and you can do teaching because I know you have a online teaching course, don't you, as well?
We do. We have a classroom where we post videos, and we just started doing a new thing for our classroom members called mini lessons. And people send in a 3 to 5 minute video. We take a look at it, see what's going on between them and their horse, and we do a voiceover and then post the video. So that's super
Wow.
fun. We just started doing that.
Yeah. So that's is that it's in a private group, is it? Is that,
Yeah, that
membership?
requires a subscription, and the link is on our homepage, so it's super easy to find.
Great. Okay. Right, Crissi, we'll get back to you now.
Okay.
Mark, you can have a breather. So tell me about how did you get into the Masterson? So you talk as much or as little as you like, but just for the listeners, explain how you sort of went into that direction.
So let's see. Way, way back, I had a friend of mine who'd been to a 2-day Masterson course, and she came over and she said, "Can I do this stuff that I learned at this 2-day course?" It's like massage, but it's not massage. And she came over and she worked on my horse, and I watched her, and I thought, "Oh, that's pretty nice. It's really gentle and it's really quiet." And then a couple years go by, and the same horse I was rehabbing her, and we were at the stage where we were beginning to ride again. And I thought it would be really nice if I could take care of her instead of relying on trying to find a chiropractor or a massage therapist on the road. And so we had Jim's first book in our trailer that Stephanie Reinhold gave to Mark years before. And so I pulled the book out. It's called Beyond Horse Massage. And I opened to the first page and I thought, oh, good, it has pictures. So I took the book out to my horse. I looked at the book. I followed the directions. The very first thing I did was bladder meridian. So I started doing the bladder meridian and she started yawning and licking and chewing. And it felt, now the feeling in me was like, this is so cool. I feel like we are having a conversation that is so clear. And with horses, sometimes even when we're doing our best and we're trying to listen, and sometimes it's hard to know if the message we sent is the message that's been received. And with the Masterson work, it's so simple. If you touch a spot, you find the blink, you wait there, and then they release. It's like so clear. And so every day I would pick a new technique out of the book. I'd read it, and then I'd go out to my horse and play around. And then probably a year after that, Mark and I went to the Minnesota, was it the Midwest Horse Fair or Minnesota?
Minnesota Horse Fair.
Yeah, the Minnesota Horse Fair. And I was going through the list of presenters, and Jim Masterson was on there. And I went, oh, honey, Jim Masterson's here. We need to find his booth and go talk to him. And so we got there early one morning and we went and found Jim. And he told us later, it was really funny. He's saying, yeah, I saw Mark on the schedule. And I said, oh, look, we have to go and introduce ourselves to Mark. So we were both on the same wavelength, which was really, really cool. Anyway, we talked to Jim on and off throughout the whole expo. It was 4 days. And we ended up arranging a 2-day clinic right before his 5-day clinic in Colorado. And Mark and I attended the 2-day clinic and then the 5-day clinic right after that. So it was back to back. And after I was done with the 5-day, I decided to go on and become certified because I love this work. And Jim is the only other person besides Mark who I've ever heard say, when in doubt, go softer. Usually it's when in doubt, crank it up, crank up the pressure, or crank whatever you're doing. If the horse doesn't hear you the first time, make the second time bigger. And the Masterson method isn't like that. If you're encountering places where the horse is uncomfortable, you back off and you go slower and you go softer. So there's all these different qualities of touch, durations of touch. I can't tell you, the longer I do this work, the more I love it. And it's really handy because when we're out on the road and we're doing clinics, if someone has a horse who we think has a physical issue that maybe is getting in the way of something they'd like to do with them, I'm available to give their horse some body work. So it's a win-win.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And so it goes very much with how you work as well, doesn't it? So the softness, I'm assuming the softness, and when you're watching a horse, and you're looking for that subtlety in communication. So if Mark was working with a horse, again, I'm assuming, I'm not saying this is what you do, Mark. You're looking for that softness, and you're looking for the small tries and the smallness, and that has a similar ethos in the Masterson work, which is lovely. So it goes hand in hand, which is perfect for you guys. So where does Aikido come into this? So Mark, you do is that how I pronounce it right?
Aikido?
Aikido.
Aikido. Say it
Aikido.
Aikido. Aikido. Aikido.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you get into that?
Actually, I was doing a clinic in Tennessee years ago, and there was a guy there that was having trouble with his horse, and it was a little Pasofino, if I remember right, and he was really struggling. The two of them were really having a hard time, and so I mentioned to him that that all of the energy that he wanted from this horse was there. He was having trouble getting the horse to move, and he was struggling with some other things. And I said, all the energy that you want is there. And if you were to just give it some direction, just sort of blend with what you have going on and give it some direction, and then see what happens, right? So just blend with what you have going on, and then give it some direction and see and stay focused on what it is you're looking for, and then see if what happens. And we don't get a lot of men in our clinics, mostly women. And so he was the only man in that clinic. And as I was talking, he looked like he was glazing over, like I was losing him. And so I just talked faster and to try and keep him engaged. And I said, I know it sounds like Zen horseback riding, but it's not. It's just, this is all energy and blah, blah, blah. And finally, after, I don't know, however many minutes it was, maybe 3 to 5 minutes of me talking and him not even responding, finally, I just said, do you understand what I'm saying? And he says, yeah, oh, yeah, I understand completely what you're saying. I said, really? Yeah. He says, well, let's give it a try. And off he went, and everything that he wanted was there. And he had no trouble after that. And he came to me after that, and he asked me if I trained in Aikido. And I said I hadn't. And he said, well, what you're doing is Aikido. And he was an Aikido instructor, and it never crossed his mind that he could apply the principles of Aikido to horsemanship. And so he invited me to go to his house, which was in North Carolina. I had some time off after that clinic, and we sat in his house and watched Aikido videos of the masters. And as we were watching them, I could pick out what they were doing. I could see the movements and what they were doing with the subtle things that they were doing to get the responses from their partners that they were looking for. And he said, well, that's interesting, because a lot of times people, especially people who don't train in Aikido, can't see that. But I guess it was because of the work that I do with horses. I spend a lot of time really trying to focus on the little things. But anyway, that was that. And I ended up studying first before I started training. And I did that for a few years, and then a couple of years. And then I started training in Aikido. There was a really good instructor here in town. And so I've been doing it ever since. And that's almost 30 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know Sue raves about it.
Yeah.
She's very good at it.
She's very good. Yeah.
Bless
Yeah.
her. So I know you guys have just come back recently. Thank you, by the way, Mark. Sorry. I know you guys have recently come back from a summit in Texas.
Mhm.
Would you like to tell the listeners what that was, and what happened during, and then a little bit after, if you want to? Do you want to? Are you okay to do
Well, I don't know what it was.
We're looking at each other and
It's-
laughing because
It
I
was
was
a
talking to a
collective.
couple. Yeah, we were talking to a couple of friends of ours in Scotland by Zoom yesterday, and they asked us the same question, and we're like, it was a life-changing experience, and it was amazing,
Mm.
and it was a room full of people, and I'm sure all the people who were watching the live stream may have experienced this too. It was this great big room of people from all over the world, all over the country, all going in the same direction. How often does that happen?
There were 22 presenters and
250 audience members.
everybody was heading in the same direction.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It was, I've never experienced anything like it, to be honest. And, there were it was extremely supportive as far as all of the presenters go. Everybody, I apologize for rubbing my nose. I've got some allergies going on here, and they're causing me a little bit of trouble.
Don't worry.
So, but everybody was very supportive of one another. There were several people there, Crissi included, that were pretty worried about getting up in front of a whole bunch of people, plus a live stream, and giving a talk. They'd never done it before. But everybody was very, very supportive of each other. Connections were made with people. There were people there that we had never met. I certainly had never met. But it was like we had known each other forever. We'd been friends all our lives. And that has continued after the summit. We're in close contact with several of the presenters, and
one of them's on here right now. Her name's Jane.
Jane.
Hi, Jane Pike.
Yeah, I know. I know. I'll put some comments up shortly when we have a little bit of a break.
We're working with Jane, which is really exciting, and we're also kind of tossing around ideas with several other people, and these are our colleagues, and one of the things that I heard a lot from the presenters was, and also from the participants, the audience members, is everyone felt like they were an island, as though what they were doing was out of the ordinary and a little off center, but they just kept doing it because that's what felt good for them and their horse. And then they come to this summit, and now it's like there's 250 people, and then the presenter, so close to 300 people, all speaking the same language as far as horses and inner growth and the feeling of being solitary, of not having any support system, just gone. And it's a reality that what the horse world is undergoing a shift and a change that is better, that's creating better situations for horses and people. That's a reality. And that's something even before the summit that I noticed. When we would go to expos, the very first expo we went to, the quality of questions was, my horse doesn't do lead changes. How do I make him do lead changes? My horse doesn't collect at the trot. How do I make him collect at the trot? My horse doesn't cross water. How do I make him cross water? Those are the questions we got maybe 15 years ago. About 6 or 7 years ago, all of a sudden the questions started being, I'd like to listen to my horse better. How do I do that? I'd like to communicate. I'd like to have a better relationship. I'd like to have a partnership with my horse. How do I help my horse feel physically better? Because I know he feels crummy, but I don't know what to do. So all of a sudden the questions started changing. And then we go to the summit, and here's a great big sign in our faces that says the horse world is changing for the better, which is great news for all of us, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, I watched the summit, and I watched it I watched the whole of it because I was going to, I couldn't get there for personal reasons, but and I was really disappointed. But I managed to watch it, and part of me was like, oh, I'm not sure I want to watch it because it might be like rubbing salt into the wound because I couldn't get there. And it was like, don't be so stupid. Don't put your nose off to spite your face. Just watch it. And it was as powerful watching it. I'm sure it was more so because you guys were there, but it was just as powerful watching it. And
that's the feedback we've heard from a lot of people, is they said, yeah, I watched the live stream and it was 3 days and I couldn't not watch it.
Yeah, I watched, because I think it was 2:00 starting in the UK. So I'd been up to do the horses, and then I came back to watch, and then I just listened on my phone like a podcast while I was doing other things and driving. So it was continually, I could hear it continually.
Nice.
And I think because you had a lot of horse people in one place doesn't always work out that well sometimes for lots of reasons.
Yes.
And everybody has their own view, everybody has their own understanding and their own level, their own place. And to get along and to be able to share slightly different views and appreciate the other person, it's a big thing to do. And it was very welcoming, but I think that the foundations were there already. So as Mark would say, when he's working with clients and horses, the basics, the foundations were already set in motion, and it's a lot bigger. This is my view. It's bigger than horses and just people, and it was set in motion, and it's just like everything was in the right place at the right time, ready for the next phase, which is, as you said, changing things, because we can't go on doing the same things because we've always done it that way. If we don't ask questions, yeah, but why do we do that? Just because it's traditional doesn't mean it's right. Unless we ask the question, and it's about asking the question to ourselves, because sometimes you do things with horses, but if you took a step back and looked at it as if that was a person and that was you, how would you feel? And yes, we're not a horse, but how would you feel, if you were pulled out of a field, tacked up, go, not asked if you're okay, just do the normal stuff, get back in the field and off you go? How would you feel? So it's about understanding a little bit more about the partnership. They're not a machine, they're a living being, and they have feelings and emotions, and opinions, as we know.
Mhm.
And they're not always the opinion that we'd like to have, or they don't always want to do the things that we want to do. And sometimes it's compromising. So I found it fascinating, and it wasn't a surprise to me. I didn't feel it was a surprise, because I just felt it was, and I don't mean that in a, I knew. I just didn't feel it was a surprise, because there's lots of changes going on lots of different levels in lots of different areas. And it's because of people want that. Deep down, that's what we want.
Well,
And
it's who we are as
yeah,
people.
yeah.
As humans, we're designed to get along. And the world has kind of taken us away from that, or we've allowed ourselves to get taken away from it. But at our core, we're designed to get along. We're part of nature, and there's a harmony in everything in nature, and we are part of that. The problem, I think, a lot of times is that what we have been taught, or what society kind of dictates, um, rubs against that and takes us in a different direction. But at our core, we are constantly, if we listen to it, we are constantly striving to go back to that. And so it's not a mystery that we, I mean, to be honest, I didn't expect that many people, as far as being presenters. I didn't expect that. I didn't. I've never seen it before. I've never experienced it before. Where we've done a lot of horse expos and whatnot, but you might find one or two people that are kind of on the same page at those big expos, but you don't find everybody. I mean, everybody that was there was on the same page, and all of the presenters. There were, like I said, there were no contradictions. Um, from one presenter to the next, and we had no contact with anybody else before that, but it was like we were the spokes, and we were all heading towards the hub of the
Mm,
wheel. And so, we were all working together, and all the people that were there were part of that. And I we talked with Warwick yesterday, and he asked me what we well he asked us what we thought. And And I said I didn't have any expectations going in other than I hoped that that my presentation might land with somebody in the audience. Other than that, I didn't really have any expectations, and even that wasn't really an expectation as much as it was, I just hoped that that might be the case. And even though I didn't have any expectations, there is no way I could have, even in my wildest imagination, anticipated what was there and what has continued to be there. And we were out with Dr. Steve Peters and his wife for dinner one night, and I mentioned to her that it it feels like what Woodstock must have felt like to those. I've known some people who were at Woodstock, and they came away saying it was a life-changing thing for them, that it was so, there were the energy and the synergy that was there. It was a life-changing thing, and it stayed with them long after they left there. And I mentioned to her that this is what it must have felt like at Woodstock, that it's like the Woodstock of the horse world kind of thing. But because it's still with us, and it's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. I really don't have the words. There's only so many words in the English language, and I don't know that there is one to describe what we experienced.
It was life-changing.
Yeah.
And there's lots of little streams and lots of little avenues and places to come from this. I think when people, a desire to want, and it's not always a word, it's not something you can always put into words. There's a desire, deep desire for change, and you may think, I want to change this, I want to do that, but I think the core, this is obviously just my view, there's something deep, and it's not able to be put into words, but there's a feeling of wanting to be the authentic you, and see that in your external world. So see that in other people, see that in the world that's around you. So it's not, as Crissi said earlier, before, people that follow certain horse culture, they felt alone, but that made them feel, actually, we're not alone. But they realized that before, but it's the deepness of that. And when you connect on a heart level, and when you connect on that level, there's something magical happens. And it's not like magical fairy dust magical. It's there for everybody, but it's just getting in that right time, and then it's boom, lightning strikes.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
I think you hit the nail on the head, where I think it touched the authentic self of, that's the best way I think that I could. I don't know that we're trying to change as much as we're just trying to get back to who we are. And I think that helped move us in that direction.
Because connection, I mean, sometimes we like to think we're an island, and I spend a lot of time on my own, but I'm not lonely. I love my own company. I love, but I'm quite happy to be with people too. It's quite nice actually to shut the door and you don't have to talk to somebody. It's a good job I'm not doing that tonight, because this won't be working. But it's connecting, and I think that's what I love about horses. I do very little riding, especially on my own, but I just love being in their presence, and it's that calmness, and it's that no speaking, just being. And especially winter in the UK, it's dark now, and it's lovely to sit just listening to munching on the hay, and it's very therapeutic, and it's just so nice, and it's underestimated what that can do, the benefit of that for your mind, and just grounding yourself. Yeah, yeah. I'm excited to see what you guys where this goes, because it's bigger than the summit. But I truly believe it was meant to happen, and it's happened. And yeah, definitely. Right. I think what we'll do, that was getting quite deep, wasn't it? We could have done a meditation there. So we've got quite a few comments. Can you see this, by the way, on yours? There's quite a few people. I don't know if Jane is. Jane, are you still here?
Janie Pike.
Yeah, she made a comment there, and Sue. So let us know if you're still here. So if anybody's got any questions for Crissi or Mark, or for both of them, please write a comment, and we'll share that on screen, and they can answer that. But do you want to say hello to anybody? You can have a scan through and have a chat. Sally, horsemanship journey. I'll put that one on. It's quite. There you go. So I'll read that out for the benefit of the listeners that are not going to see this. So Mark inspired me originally. His stories lit up my horse journey. And thank you guys, as I'm now on the path to becoming a Master Method certified practitioner. And I'm doing equine assisted therapy alongside. I'm hoping to get to the USA to one of your joint clinics you do with Jim. So don't stop doing those for a couple of years, please.
And the only way we'll stop is if Jim calls it quits. So
yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, those are really good clinics. Those are the clinics where the auditors actually probably end up learning as much or more than the writers.
Absolutely. And we've got here we go. There's Sue. She's blushing. I think maybe our conversation earlier.
Hi, Sue. You're the reason for all this.
And Jane. Yeah. Are you still there, Jane? So I'm asking. Okay, guys. So please write any comments. If you, oh, here we go. There's another
That's
one
from Sue.
Yeah.
Aw.
I'll let you read that one, Crissi.
This is from our friend Sue. She said, I've been studying Ibotta and horsemanship with Mark and Crissi for over 11 years now. I can truly say that their teachings have changed my life and made me a much better person. Thank you, Sue. You're doing the work, though. And you're the one who travels to see us. We don't get on a plane.
She does. She goes miles, absolutely miles.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see her in a couple of weeks.
We are. We're going to see her for a Ibotta and writing. We have a writing workshop that we're doing. So.
Oh, excellent. What's that about then? What sort of writing?
Any kind. Mark is an author. He also writes screenplays. We've both written magazine articles, blogs, books. So we give, what we end up doing is doing Ibotta in the morning. And then in the afternoon, we have a writing workshop. So basically just introducing people to the different ways you can write. You know, because a blog is different from a magazine article, is different from a book, is different from a screenplay, is different from a short story.
Is different from a song.
Is different from a song, right? So we talk about all those avenues that you can pursue as far as being a writer, and then talk about some basic skills that will help improve your writing. So it's a fun weekend.
You have so much that you guys do, so much, and so many talents. Mark, because you play the guitar and you sing, don't you, as well?
If you could call it that, yeah.
He's being modest. He's really awesome.
So, Crissi, do you sing or play an instrument of any kind?
I sing in the shower.
Yeah, me too.
Or in the car. And I was playing the violin. I played the violin as a child for 9 years going through school. And then I had a teacher in my senior year who was really hard because I never learned how to read music. They tried to make me learn music, but I would listen to the music and I'd play it by ear. And I had a teacher who was really, really hard on me about learning to read music. And by the time I graduated my senior year, I handed in my violin and I said, that's it. I'm never playing this thing again. And 28 years later, I ended up expressing an interest. Mark got a fiddle for me, and I picked it up, and I remembered 2 songs after 28 years.
Yeah,
And
wow.
so, I've been writing so much that I have not been practicing the fiddle, but I do want to get back to it because I enjoy it.
Yeah. And the violin
Yeah.
it's beautiful. I love violin. Have you ever heard of a piece of music called, I think it's called Lark Rising? It's a classical piece of
Mm,
music. I'll
mm-mm.
have to send you. It's absolutely. The first time I heard it, I was driving, and I had to pull over and listen to it. It's about the bird, and it's the violin is the bird, but
I would love
so,
to hear it. Yeah.
it is so it's so beautiful. It's really emotional.
Mm.
But it's so yeah, I'll send you a link to it. It's an absolutely
Yeah,
beautiful
I'd like
piece
to
of
see that.
music.
Yeah, the
Um,
violin is an instrument that it's there's really not a lot of in between. It's excruciating when you start because
Like the bagpipes.
oh my god. Yeah, it's you because it's squeaky and it's scratchy and you hit the wrong notes and it sounds like screeching and so you have to master not only where the notes are when you put your fingers on the fingerboard, but there's also bowing technique. So you have a bow in your other hand and you have to learn how and when to put the pressure on the bow, how to be smooth when you draw the bow across the strings. It's um, I've been toying around with learning the mandolin because it's the same as a violin, only you pluck it.
mm.
And I thought, well, that might be better because then I'm not running that bow across the strings. So yeah, when you hear someone playing violin or fiddle and they're doing it well, that is a skill and a talent.
Mm.
That is for sure.
There's something called a ukulele.
Mhm.
They're lovely.
Yeah, and
Yeah, I
there
love
is it only. I
ukuleles.
think do they have five? Is it 5 strings or four
Or
string? 4 strings.
Or yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
my friend had one as a present for a birthday, and she started her lessons, but she's giving up because she's suffering with vertigo.
Mm.
So it's not working.
Mhm.
If you can imagine, bless her.
Yeah.
But yeah, she saw one in the window, and she thought, "I'd like to have a go at learning that." But she's not persisted with it, bless her.
Mm.
There's a question up
Yeah.
here from Brenda DePaul asking about Aikido.
Okay, there you go.
So Brenda is asking, we don't have anything similar to Aikido in our area. What do you suggest to learn about that would at least start a foundation? I am in Ontario, Canada. Hi, Brenda from Canada.
Hmm.
You could do a couple things. You could look for Qigong or Tai Chi. Everything
Ballroom dancing.
ballroom dancing would be great. You could look for yoga or Tai Chi lessons or classes online. Those some of the things that are important that Aikido fosters is non-habitual movement. So as humans and especially as adults, we usually have about 10 movements that we make. We walk, we reach for things, we move our arms, and that's it. And one of the really beneficial things about Aikido and other things like Tai Chi, Qigong, ballroom dancing is it gets us out of our habitual movement patterns. Horses don't have I mean, they have habitual movements, but they also have a range of motion that is much greater than ours. And that's sometimes what can get us in trouble is they go, 4 different directions at once, and we're used to doing this. So, um, yeah, I would say look into that. Like Mark said, ballroom dancing. You can find Tai Chi and Aikido online. Anything that encourages non-habitual movement is good.
So Tai Chi, is that more of a fluid? Is it the movement that's very fluid?
Mhm.
Um,
Mm.
all I know
Qigong is
about
the same. Yeah.
is it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
It's
yeah.
a Chinese um, Tai Chi is a Chinese martial art um, that has been slowed way down. But when you so it's more form like movement. But when sped up, it's a pretty deadly martial art.
So
That
good,
would,
and it's good for balance, isn't it? It's good for
Mhm.
people to, if they've had injuries, to help with the balance
Mhm.
because of the slow movement. Let me
Mhm.
see if we've got any more questions. Actually,
I wanted to say hi to Robin Wagaman. Hi, Robin. It's great to have you here. She said some very nice things.
Hi, Robin.
Robin's awesome.
Robin's awesome. We met her in California, and she's now in New Mexico.
Wow.
Big move.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. You just picked the question I saw. Do you want to read this one?
How many of your own horses do you have on your ranch? And what do you like to do with them? Trail ride or play on the ground or whatever? We have 6 horses, and most of them are getting older now, so they're either retired or semi-retired. We have 3 or 4 that are still working regularly. We just got a new horse that we're spending some time with and kind of getting to know him. And in the last few years, we've been so busy with other things, writing books, and like Crissi said, I also write screenplays and for movies, and one of them did get made into a movie, and we've just been really busy with other things. So when we aren't working, our horses basically have time off. But we do. We were just talking a couple of days ago that I was telling Crissi, I just really want to get back to riding more when we're not working. And so hopefully we'll get a chance to do that this year. Just have to make time for it. We have so many things going on that it puts a little bit of something has to give, and the kind of the easiest thing to let go, because it's not just beneficial for us, but it's also beneficial for the horses, is just letting them be when they're not working. When they're working, they work pretty hard. So I don't feel too bad about not doing a lot with them when we're not working.
Yeah, we usually trail ride. We had a horse that I was taking jumping lessons with. He passed away, so not all our horses now are mostly trail riding horses. But like I said, I'll do anything. I just love horses.
And ranch work,
yeah, and poo picking. Do you do poo
That's
picking?
right. That's right.
That's my job. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the foundation of our
relationship.
Yeah, I love poo picking. Well, love maybe is a strong word, but I get my inspiration and actually that's a bit like meditation sometimes, because I just sort of drift off. Unless I get stuck in a mud rut and I can't move the wheelbarrow, then a few strong words come out. Then.
Well, it helps.
Yeah. I've decided that it's easier to pull a wheelbarrow behind you rather than push it, because the more you push it, the deeper it goes, and it's that situation where you're determined that you are going to move wheelbarrow. So you dig a trench.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was going to say to you, what do you guys do to just relax? What other hobbies have you got to sort of switch off a little bit?
Reading.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a voracious reader, and I don't have the time I used to. So usually by mid-afternoon, I'll start reading, and I'll read for a couple hours at bedtime.
Do you like audio books?
They put me to sleep.
Do they? Oh,
yeah.
I really like, because I listen to them in the car. So I'm to sit down and read, apart from Mark's book and your book, obviously, because I would take those to bed and read, and then it would be like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm still reading the book. So I find if I listen to audio, I tend to listen on the way to work or somewhere, and yeah, I quite enjoy those. But there's something about a book, holding a book and opening the pages and the smell of a book when you get a new book. It's just, I like that. I like that.
Yeah, I wish I could listen to books, because it would be really efficient. We drive so much, but I think I downloaded the Lonesome Dove series. It's a long series, and I know Mark and I would both be interested. And 10 minutes in, the guy who reads it has such a nice voice. I'm in the passenger seat. Yeah, I wake up and I'm, where are we? And then we try it again, and 10 minutes go by, and it's just this nice voice reading. and so it's pointless to buy them because I sleep through them.
Yeah, so he's got a good hypnotic voice.
Yeah.
I used to like the Jake Game book too, the James Herriot books. I remember having it was not hard copy, it was a paper copy, and I think I got them from a jumble sale. There was about 5 books, and I used to, again, I was in bed and read those. That was years and years ago, and I loved it because you'd be reading the book and you'd forget that you're in a bedroom. I would be
Mhm.
there, literally
Mhm.
there, and I
Yeah.
loved it. And in fact, when I saw the series on the TV, when they brought the series out, it didn't have the same feel, but I still liked it, and I like it
Mhm.
now. But at the time, the book took you away somewhere magical and in that life, and it was just, yeah. And the same thing from reading your book. It was, you just took you there and helped you with your thoughts. I really, really enjoyed it. So what's on the cards for Crissi? I'll talk to you first. So what's on the cards? What have you got coming up? Have you got any trips to the UK, by the way? Have you got any trips to the UK?
We have a couple people strong arming us to go over there. We'll have to get Mark's passport updated though, because currently it is out of date.
Oh,
So we're not opposed to the idea. It's just I don't know if it'll happen in 2023, but and I can't even think about 2024.
yeah.
My second fiction book will be coming out next year. That's what I have coming up.
Wow.
I'm working on doing the rewrite. We will be traveling January through April, and then we'll begin our clinics at Happy Dog Ranch near Denver. So, yeah, just on a calendar, I have an actual calendar. It's not my phone, and you open it up and you can see the whole month. And then on the calendar, it always looks, pretty well organized. And then you start living it, and it just turns into this. Everything gets bunched up, So I'm always hesitant to say I want to do something or try and plan it out until I get closer.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, I just write same thing. I mean, I love our life. We have time to write. Mark has time to build guitars. And we love the work we do. I really couldn't ask for more.
Yeah. Living the dream sounds cliche, but you're doing what you love and you're where you want to be, which
Mhm.
is something to yeah, it's a lovely thing to be able to do. Right, I'm just going to see if we've got any more questions. Is there anything else that you'd like to chat about? Is there anything else you'd like to bring to the table?
You have anything?
No, I don't think so.
You have any plans?
Do I have any plans? No.
You haven't got any plans. What about the singing, the band?
Yeah, I'm actually in several different bands. So we do a John Denver tribute band. I'm in a classic Southern rock band. I'm in a Peter, Paul, and Mary little group, and just was asked to join a more classic rock band. So been working on that. Yeah, been building guitars, and so that's been keeping me out of trouble when we're not working. So yeah.
We had just had a question pop up from Tomoko, and we met Tomoko in the UK the last time that we were there doing a combination clinic with Jim Masterson. Hi, Tomoko.
So she's
I
yeah,
think
I'll
this
let you read
question
that
is,
one.
yeah, this question is for Mark.
Tell me about the lovely truck you guys were riding in this summer. That's I'm assuming you're talking about the red truck, and the red truck is a 1950 Ford pickup truck, and it is very similar to the truck that Walter drove when when I was working with him, and it's all original. So it's from the 1950. It is actually in 1950. His was in 1949, but it was the same. That body style stayed the same from 48 to 50. So, but it sounds and drives just like the one that he had when I was a kid. And so we take it out when we can. And we have a couple of old trucks that we like to drive around when we get an opportunity
In the summer.
in the summer.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so that's what that truck's all about.
But not when you've got lots of snow, which you've got now, haven't you?
Got a lot of
We
snow,
got
yeah.
we got quite. I was out plowing snow this morning for about an hour and a half.
Oh
So
my goodness. So how deep was your snow?
it's funny because here at the house it's only about, our driveway is about a quarter mile long, and right here at the house it was maybe 4 or 5 inches, but the driveway goes uphill. So we live at 7,500 feet in elevation. So we're up in the mountains, and where our house sits is lower than where the driveway ends by maybe 100 feet. And so it was about 4 inches here, and it was about 10 inches up at the top of the driveway. So just from here to the top of the driveway, there was that much difference in how much snow we had gotten.
And
So-
when you get snow drift as well, isn't it? When it sort of backs up at the side of the mountain or the hills, and it gets really, really deep.
Yeah, when the wind blows, it can. We have to be real careful here because it'll drift in our driveway, and we won't be able to get out. So we have to stay on top of it. If the wind starts blowing, we have to really make sure we're out there plowing. No longer than a couple hours.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, I can't remember the last time we had a lot of snow. When I was a child, I remember walking, and obviously I was a lot smaller then, walking through the snow, and it felt like it was up to your belly button.
Mhm.
I'm sure it wasn't really, but that it seemed to be. But yeah, we don't get snow like we used to. In fact, it's been really mild here in the UK. We've had the grass is still growing. It's starting to slow down now, and we've had flowers and bees still hovering around.
Wow.
But the last few days, I think it was 4 degrees tonight. I don't know what that is in your temperatures, but so it feels like autumn, winter's on its way now.
Yeah.
But,
well, Ronnie, we have another question from Brenda. Do you want to answer that, and then we can call that good?
Yeah. So when you are away from your horses for a period of time, do you find that you need to reconnect with them? And if so, how do you do that?
So when we're away from our horses, most of our herd is on pasture right now. I personally don't feel that the connection is ever broken. Yeah, that's a really good question, Brenda. I don't ever feel as though there needs to be a reintroduction or a reconnection. I feel like that connection is available at any time, and my job is to be open to it. I'm not going to rush up to them and throw my arms around them and hang on their face and kiss them and do all that.
Since when?
I'll wait until 10 minutes later, and then I'll do that. Yeah, it's even when we haven't seen our horses for a week or two and we go out on pasture, they will usually come and see us. And so usually what we do is I'll let them sniff me, and I'll scratch them, and we check them over to make sure they're maintaining their weight, that there are no injuries. I like to say hi to all the horses, and then after they've said hello, they turn and they wander off. So that's what I found anyway. What do you think?
Yep, I think whatever you think. I
Right.
just found that that's the best.
That's the
Right.
right
It's
answer.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it is, isn't it? It's when we go away, we miss them, and we can't wait to get back and see them. And then if they're at the top of the field, they might look up and then go carry on eating, and we're like, okay, so you're fine,
Yeah, but
which
that's all our
good.
that's our human
It
perception though,
is.
right? Because
It is.
if you get rid of the doubt and the stories, and you, for my part, what I do is I don't like to use the word assume because we know what that means, but I believe in the connection between my horses and I, and so I have no reason to doubt it. I have no
Mm.
reason to tell myself that, oh, I've been away and they will forget me. Well, horses have the second longest memory only to elephants, so they're probably not going to forget me. Um, it can become very human centric instead
Mm.
of going to see our horses and believing that that connection's already there. There's not been an interruption, I guess.
Yeah.
That's a good question, Brenda. Thank you.
It is a good question, and like you said, it's more to do with us, and yeah, it's how we are about ourselves, and yeah, that's a whole nother story that could take you down a whole
Yes.
nother route.
Yes.
Right, guys, I think that's the last of the questions anyway. Now, I'm really, really pleased that so many people have joined us, which is great for because Mark and Crissi have come in the generosity of their time. They're sharing their time. So thank you so much for your comments, guys. Would you like to say anything before you say goodbye? And then if you don't mind, if you just wait so I can just say a quick bye personally afterwards.
Sure.
So if you want to just say a few parting words, and then I'll pop you into the back room.
Yeah, thank you for the invite to be
Mhm.
here today, and this has been great. It's plenty cold outside today, so spending time inside was the right thing to do. So as soon as we're done here, we're going to head over to the barn and take care. We've got 2 horses here now, so we're going to head over there and get those guys taken care of, and go to the grocery store and
Fold the
yeah,
laundry.
fold the laundry, and
Make dinner.
so
Yeah.
yeah, that's going to be our day. But we really appreciate you taking the time and inviting us to come and visit with you.
You are
Ye-
very, very welcome, and
Yes.
thank you so much.
Thank you, Ronnie. And we appreciate everyone who showed up and asked the good questions. And there's so many people here saying hello and telling us how they've been affected by our work, and just really kind words. Really, really nice people showing up. And
Mm-hmm.
we appreciate that. And Ronnie, we appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. So I'll just pop you out, guys. And if you just hang
Okay.
on for just a minute, and then I won't keep you too long while I
Great.
say goodbye. Bye. Oh, that was so lovely to chat with Mark and Crissi. Once again, thank you for all your comments. You will be able to see the comments. Everybody can view the comments on Facebook. So yeah, it's really important that people support my guests that come on, because again, it's their time and they are so busy, as everybody is. So it's lovely that they spare an hour and a little bit more to chat with you guys and answer some of your questions. Have a lovely evening. Here in the UK, it is 18 minutes past 8 in the evening. I'm going to make a cup of tea shortly. Lovely chatting, and I shall see you all again soon. Thank you very much for your support. Really appreciate it. Take care, and bye for now. Thank you.